When she'd offered, I'd expected her to serve cookies and coffee and for a freaking meeting to actually happen instead of this cocktail party. Apparently I'd been delusional.
"I'm so glad to see you. I was beginning to think I was at the wrong place."
Sadie Michaels came up on my right side and gave me a hug. She'd opened Pies on the Fly a few years ago, renovating her garage into a small bakery. Between Diamond Lilies and the coffee shop business, Sadie made a good income for the part-time at-home venture. She was also one of my best friends. I glanced around the room. Sherry had taken the entire clothing inventory out of the main showroom for our meeting. 2 tables sat in the middle of the room, apparently for our use once we got done with our massages and caviar. White lights lined the room, giving the entire room a festive glow. A short runway in the center of the showroom featured models wearing designer gowns sold in the shop. If Sherry wasn't the owner, I would be enthralled with her collection. I saw some classic Chanel as well as a good dose of Michael Kors, the early years. Even though you couldn't tell it from a survey of my wardrobe, I loved watching designer trends, just not buying them. I focused on the conversation.
"So I may be a little short on the pie order tomorrow, but you'll be caught up on Wednesday."
Sadie smiled, like she'd just solved a third-world problem.
"I'm going to grab some coffee."
"I don't understand. What happened to the pie order?" I called after Sadie, but my words were lost in the din. Or, more likely, she was ignoring me. I looked for my aunt, but she'd stepped away. Scanning the room, I found her drinking a flute of champagne and talking to Kent Payne. Kent was dressed in a tailored black suit and looked more like a financial mogul than a small branch manager. His 2 white teeth and salt-and-pepper hair added to his almost perfect actor looks. He and Sherry had been dating for a few months now, and gossip was they were made for each other, both shallow and petty to the core. Sherry floated into the conversation, took Kent by the arm, and moved him over to the side of the room. Aunt Jackie returned to our group. "You get dumped?" I teased. She polished off the champagne and traded it with a full glass off the tray of a waiter she'd motioned over as she approached. I waved the guy off. I didn't need alcohol in my system this early in the day.
"Just mingling. Kent's such a charismatic person. I don't understand what he sees in Sherry."
Raised voices from the side of the room had us turning to watch Sherry and Kent. "Keep it in your pants for an hour?" "I was just being nice." Kent grabbed Sherry's arm, and they disappeared into a doorway, away from the crowd and blocking their next words. "Looks like there's trouble in paradise." I nudged my aunt. "Maybe you have a shot?" Her face turned beet red, and she took a sip of her champagne.
"Stop teasing. I feel bad for the guy, that's all."
"Looking for a new dancing partner?" Sadie rejoined the group, sipping a cup of coffee.
"I thought you and Josh were almost exclusive."
Hearing his name, Josh lumbered toward the group in his normal attire, black suit, white dress shirt. He owned Antiques by Thomas and was Jackie's new beau. Josh looked as confused at the meeting events as I felt. He didn't say a word as he took a protective stand next to my aunt.
"Anyway, back to this week's order. Sherry came in with a last-minute order for the meeting. I just couldn't turn her down."
Sadie led me toward the runway area, looking back at my aunt and Josh.
"I almost put my foot in my mouth back there. I didn't know he was so close."
When Jackie's around, Josh is never too far away. The man's besotted. I frowned, mentally calculating what Pies on the Fly product we had left at the shop. I hope we don't get a tour bus stop. We'll be wiped out.
"Stop stressing. You'll have your order, just not tomorrow."
"I just can't win today," I muttered, allowing myself to be swept into the crowd. After a 10-minute show, Sherry walked out on stage to the thunderous applause of the group. She even bowed, as if she'd created each and every dress instead of the famous designers she'd stocked.
"I'm so blessed. You have all opened your arms to welcome me and my little store into your community."